Hey guys, what is up? It is NihonTiger. I am back here on the VintageBeef Fan Server once again, and we are in spawn. Actually, it's a little bit laggy here. I think it's the beacons here in the spawn building that makes it a little laggy because you can see the block lag here, and I turn around and oh, it's gone. So I think it's the beacon that's rendering is making it a little bit, I guess the word laggy, but. We are back. It's been a while since I've recorded on here. I have been playing a little bit, but haven't had time to record because I've been busy with other things, such as the UHC that happened a little bit ago. I might talk about a little bit about that today, very briefly, and as well as Terra Firma Crack, which we will not talk about because I'm saving that for Okay, that was terrifying. I hate those baby zombies. But yeah, we are going to talk about we're going to talk about that in a later date probably. The heck is that? Is that a beacon or is that that's a beacon. Okay, that was a weird glitch. I thought it was like some kind of weird cobble pillar all of a sudden. I was like, who put that cobble pillar all the way to the build limit? Jeez. But anyways, we're heading on over here to the south of spawn. Had to get my directions right. I always forget, get disoriented sometimes. But we're going to head on over here to this forest for a very specific... Oh wait, it's not a forest at all. It's what I've been working on. So, haven't been really recording much besides the dragon fight that just happened a little bit ago. But this is my big project that I've been working on so that I can work on the treehouse. It is, you guessed it, a tree farm. And it is not just a tree farm for Nihon, it is a tree farm for everybody. So, welcome to the VBS Community Tree Farm version 0.5 beta, built by NihonTiger. Generous donations from Just Vaughn, who provided the cobble that used to build the walls, and Casey King, who decided to help me out. He's had a bunch of dirt that he was not using after he did his project, so I used that for the base fill here. And underneath this is actually some cobble underneath that. Underneath the cobble is a hollowed out area, so you'll hear monsters and whatnot. Grab the carrots. You'll hear monsters and whatnot, but they're not anywhere near here. So please replant your trees if you decide to visit. If you're on the server, the location's at -300, about 550. There'll be a road that comes out here at some point in the future, so you can just follow that. And it'll be a few more things built up, because right now you can get kind of shot by skeletons who are standing out here. So we will eventually build a little house kind of area here, kind of an entrance greeting place, I guess, like a giant fancy foyer. Okay. So, put that away. This is kind of my little hidey hole where I just store my crap that I'm not using at the moment. And to-do list, build a shelter, which I mentioned, kind of like the foyer shelter greeting area place. Test planting, which I've been doing. I have to do a little bit more test planting, and we'll get to that in a minute. And add things. I'm thinking about adding some farms in that hollowed out area under the ground. There's also a cave down there, so that's kind of where some of the monsters are coming from. But anyways, we are going to head on out over there. I'm going to make some more axes here, and then we're going to head on out to the jungle area to get some jungle saplings so that we can do some test plantings with the jungle saplings and see space-wise what are we looking at as far as how much space they're going to need. I don't know if I want to do 1 high or 4 high ones yet. I guess that depends on how test plantings go. But in the meanwhile, we're going to talk about 2 things. So very briefly here, I'll talk about UHC. By now the last video has gone out, so you guys already know what happened. I came in 3rd. Wing left halfway through because he had to do some stuff, and I was on my own. 18 and Pip, as I expected, basically ran roughshod over everybody, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, I wish I would have won that thing. I felt like for a good long while that I had a shot at it, but you know how these things go. UHC matches are inherently unpredictable, and just when you think that you've got a good shot of winning, the scenario changes, something happens, and suddenly you don't. But not much I can do, just get ready for Season 4, and hopefully Season 4 will turn out a little bit better, and two Minecore people won't get partnered together, and they also won't find a whole bunch of gold right at the beginning, and then have that sit on for the rest of the game. So nothing wrong with that, nothing unsporting about that. It's just, you know, of course it was the luck that two of the better UHCers got partnered together, and they happened to find a whole bunch of gold. So, oh well, can't really complain about that. I think I did all right. I wish my TNT traps would have at least worked once. I think that would have made me feel a little bit better about how that went, but can't always choose how things go. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to discuss a little bit here, and probably the majority of this episode and the next episode, because that was the reason I was gone for so long, was I was in California. Woo! Oh, mango saplings, yay. I was in California for about a week and a half, and that kind of kept me away from the server for longer because of the fact that, in addition to, you know, actually being out there and not being at my computer and being able to access my Minecraft info or find a stable connection so I could log in, I also had to deal with the fact that, you know, I couldn't record. So even if I could get online, I can't record on my laptop because it doesn't like to do that stuff. Whoa, wait a minute. Is this some kind of weird hybrid tree? Like, did you see that? I chopped down like some of the branches, and they're oak, and some of them are jungle. Was this just someone's tree who? Yeah, they made it one tree and they chopped down the other tree. I don't know. That's weird. That's really weird. Anyways, let me talk a little bit about my trip. I was in California for part of the time with my family, my parents, my two sisters, and for part of the time I was on my own-ish with some friends. So I'm going to start off going in chronological order, and that means I'm going to start off with the part of the trip that was with my family, and that was in San Francisco, or the Bay Area, to be more specific. So basically, we went out to the Bay Area, ended up flying into Oakland from Detroit, had a 6:30 in the morning flight. Let me tell you something, there is nothing like being on a plane at 6:30 in the morning because you just do not give a crap about anything, you just want to go to sleep. And you know, you get up to go to the airport at like 5 in the morning, maybe. No, it wasn't even that. I got up at 4. I got up at 4 because we had to leave at 5 to get to the airport on time to get our flight. So that is, you know, that's fun. And you might notice some sarcasm there. It wasn't really that much fun. It was kind of a drag to have to get up that early, especially because I just drove back up to my parents' place so they could take care of my car and keep it parked there for free, versus paying $1 billion at the airport for that, you know, same privilege. I had to do that the night before after I got off work at 6 o'clock, so I got home around 8:30, and that meant that I pretty much went right to bed around 10 o'clock. So I pretty much got home, threw some laundry in there, washing machine, and that was about it. That was really the extent of my time in home. It was just a place to sleep for the most part for the trip the next day. But I digress. A big part of going out there was to meet my aunt and her boyfriend, and also their dog. They got a new dog recently, a Cocker Spaniel. Little guy. He is a just threw a torch at the skeleton. It didn't care. He is a little bundle of energy. Holy crap! That little guy is such a fuzzball. And he likes to nip too. He likes to nip, but he does it obviously playfully because he doesn't know any better. Because he's a couple of weeks old and he's dumb. He's dumb. I'll just say that he's dumb. Most dogs are they're smart enough to do things like look out for people and whatnot, but dogs are not necessarily the brightest when it comes to knowing how rough to be when it comes to playtime, and sometimes they like to nip at you because that's what dogs do to each other, and people are not dogs, so people react differently when they get nipped. But in any case, that dog is just adorable, and I am just so happy I got to see him. And what was funnier was my sister, my youngest sister. I have two younger sisters. Refer to them as the middle sister and the youngest sister. But the youngest of the two spent good part of the entire time trying to get my mom to get a dog because their dog passed away recently. It's also formerly my dog as well. It was kind of the family dog, and she passed away right after my sister's graduation. She had a kidney issue, unfortunately. And it just basically became, I had to put her down because it was, quality of life. She was very, very slow, very, very tired all the time. Couldn't really do much, and had fallen over once or twice. So they pretty much when they took her to the animal ER, they pretty much said, she's not gonna, she's suffering really badly right now. So we would suggest putting her down because she's not gonna live a couple more weeks anyways. But yeah. But in brighter news, my sister was attempting to get my mom to get another dog. And this comes after the fact my mom has said she is not getting another dog because she does not want to have to deal with, having someone watch said dog all the time when they go on vacation, like this one. So that's actually a very good point. She's so that's the way it was. It was pretty funny because my sister would be like, "Mom, we should get a dog. Mom, we should get a dog." And my mom was just adamantly like, "No, we're not getting a dog. No, we're not getting a dog." And I kept ribbing on my sister. I kept ribbing on her like, "Hey, you graduated. You can get your own dog now. You know that?" And she didn't like that. She didn't like that so much. She didn't like that idea that she would have to get a dog and have to take care of it herself instead of having mom take care of it for her. So, is the tree down here? Yes, it is. Good. But that was pretty fun, and it was nice to actually see my aunt. I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't been out to Northern California ever. My mom hasn't been out there in about 30 years. So, all in all, that was pretty fun. On top of that, we got to, go out and see the sights and see a lot of very cool things, and I don't know if I'm going to have the pictures in my video of this, but at this point, I'm just running around chopping trees, so I'm sure I'll find a way to get the photos from my camera onto here to illustrate all the fun things that happened. But let's talk about that, because we did some touristy things and we did some not so touristy things, and it was a pretty fun trip. So let's start with, let's see, we got in on Saturday, so it would have been Sunday. We went into the city, and we went to Alcatraz. So for those of you who don't know where Alcatraz is, it is in the middle of San Francisco Bay. It is a former federal penitentiary. It's nicknamed The Rock because of the fact that it is kind of on a giant limestone island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, and it has this reputation because it used to be the like this federal maximum security prison, and very hard to escape from. They've done some dramatizations. As far as I know, nobody's ever escaped from there alive. People have escaped from there and gone missing and never been found, but in fact, 3 people have done that. They all did it together. They all just kind of disappeared. But nobody's ever escaped and lived to tell about it, I guess is what I should say. There have been numerous attempts, all of them unsuccessful, but it's a fairly interesting place. And it also happened to be during the America's Cup is going on in San Francisco right now, or it was going on at the time. But so there were some of the ships were out there, and it was kind of cool to see those. You don't get to see too many of the larger yachts sailing competitive boats. I wouldn't really call them yachts. Yachts kind of indicates pleasure boat. They're the competitive sailing boats. Yeah, I'll call them that. It was nice to actually get to see some of those, even if the whole America's Cup thing has kind of lost some of its luster and popularity in the last decade or so, because it's not like MMA. But we went to Alcatraz, and it was interesting from a historical perspective. You got to actually see roughly how it looked. The National Park Service keeps it pretty well restored, based on a lot of the photos and whatnot that are available historically from Alcatraz, and it's really interesting to get to go there and to see the actual cells that people were actually at one point in. There were famous people that were on Alcatraz for some period of time, not necessarily like they spent the rest of their lives there. In fact, a lot of them were transferred off at some point to somewhere else. For example, Al Capone was on Alcatraz for a while, but he wasn't there. It wasn't like they arrested him for tax evasion and sent him directly to Alcatraz. He was in other prisons as well. But you get to see stuff like that, and you get to see these conditions and just kind of how basic it all really was. It was really interesting, because obviously compare it to the actual maximum security prison now in Colorado. Supermax, I think it's Florence, is what it is. I think it's 80x Florence. It's like night and day. This is like county jail. Their maximum security prison in the 1940s is like the county jail today. It's incredible to think how how technology has advanced that much, and how the way people treat prisoners has advanced that much. But it was interesting. You got to see not only the exterior, which had this really smug, cool little seagull was up there. He's like, I don't give a fuck about anything. He's like, I'm just chilling here. I'm just chilling here. You just leave me alone. But get some more saplings actually before I do the planting. But yeah, that was really interesting getting to see all of that and getting to kind of experience Alcatraz and see kind of the whole inside, outside of it, like the rec yard, which is very, very large and very set into this little kind of depression area. It's kind of like you have to go down these stairs and you get to the rec yard, and it's this huge area that you could just kind of imagine them cramming a whole bunch of people into. It's very, very interesting, and I would suggest if you can go, then you should probably go, even though it is kind of a tourist trap. And they had touristy trap stuff at the dock, like photos that you could purchase of you standing in front of Alcatraz. It was like the worst photos I've ever seen. It's very clearly you were standing in front of a screen. It was just dumb, but we didn't buy those. After we went to Alcatraz, we walked a little bit further down the Embarcadero, which is kind of the street that faces the bay side of San Francisco, and went up to some of the piers that are a little further up, like Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39. Wait, is Pier 39 Fisherman's Wharf? No, they're separate. I think Fisherman's Wharf is like 41 or something like that. It's a little further down. But we walked down there. We avoided going too far into there because that place is kind of a tourist trap. And, you know, they have all the commercial stuff there, like the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company and, you know, your Hard Rock cafes and whatnot are all kind of up in that area. It's all kind of a giant tourist trap. So we successfully avoided getting sucked into eating dinner somewhere or lunch somewhere that we could have ate, you know, back home, until we actually went to McDonald's and had, you know, McDonald's, you know, up by the Fisherman's Wharf. And damn, food in San Francisco is really freaking expensive. Not surprised there, not really too surprised. I know everything is kind of expensive in the Bay Area, but man, it's a little more expensive than I would have expected. But it's still less expensive than going to some of those you know, touristy trap places on the piers. I bet the food there was like forever and ever priced high. So that is part of what we did. We also went to Ghirardelli Square, which is a little further down. It's all the way down. It's a little closer to the Golden Gate Bridge, Presidio area. Still kind of a. So if you keep walking along the Embarcadero, it turns into another street, and then eventually it becomes, you run into this huge park. I forget what the park's name is, but you eventually run into it, and the cable cars are up there. They have a turnaround up there, and holy cow, there was a huge line for cable cars. Anytime we wanted to get on a cable car, anytime we had thoughts of getting on a cable car, we would just look at the line, and it would be like, you know, be like Cedar Point on the busiest day of the year, and everybody was wanting to get on the same ride. That's kind of what it was like. So we eventually decided that we didn't want to get on the cable car and waste our afternoon for, you know, however long it was going to be. So we just stopped by and looked at it on our way to Ghirardelli Square. Now, as far as Ghirardelli Square goes, that is, of course, where the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company has its headquarters, and the headquarters look like a freaking castle. It's crazy. I don't know why a chocolate company needs their headquarters to look like a castle, but I guess that's what they like. But went there and we had a sundae or two. I actually had one sundae, but everybody got something to eat, just because, you know, ice cream, chocolate. Who doesn't like that? Unless you're like lactose intolerant and eat chocolate. But it was really good ice cream. Kind of a little bit expensive, but again, this is, you know, it's quality stuff, so you're gonna pay a little bit more for it. I enjoyed it. I know I definitely enjoyed it, and the walking helped a little bit, trying to burn off some of the calories from lunch and the sundae. I almost said salad. I was just saying salad. I was thinking about another thing that I had that was salad-like at one point on my journeys. But anyways, we had our sundae, and we went back home and played around with the puppy a little bit more. And then Monday, we went into the city with my aunt's boyfriend, and we went and explored Chinatown and Haight-Ashbury and a bunch of cool places. Now, we also had lunch at this place in Chinatown. They had like dumplings, and you know, it was really good. They had like pork dumplings, which were ridiculously awesome because they were like barbecued pork, I think. Very tasty. The rice, not so much. I didn't really like the rice they used for the dumplings. It was a little doughy. I know it's supposed to be a little bit doughy, but it was a little more doughy than just, you know, regular rice dumplings. But the meat inside was actually really good, and the shrimp pot stickers that we had, those were excellent. Those were absolutely excellent. Very, very happy with that lunch. I only had water with that. I didn't really have much soda on my trip. I'm trying to make sure I don't drink too much of it because it's not good for you. So we went to Chinatown for a little bit. Went to Haight-Ashbury, and really that was about it. Kind of just explored all of the areas of San Francisco that are a little more, I guess you could say, not tourist trap filled. So that was good. And then on Tuesday, the next day, we awoke and drove all the way out to the Muir Woods. So for those of you who don't know where the Muir Woods are, they are to the north of San Francisco. And we're on near, I think it's Marin County is technically where they are, but they're north of where San Francisco is. They're on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. And we ended up spending quite a bit of time there, just getting to see like the redwood trees, which are huge. These things are monstrous and just really awe-inspiring to see. I don't think seeing one in Minecraft and seeing one in real life, really does it justice. I think you really have to see them in real life to understand just how big and how impressive they are. And these things are hundreds of years old. These are not, trees that, you can plant one and then 50 years later it'll be a fully mature tree. These things have been growing for decades, for centuries even. And a lot of them are going to keep growing and keep living. They're going to outlive, you and I. And it's really incredible to believe just how these things live. And furthermore, just how they've adapted to how they and all the animals like the banana slug, which was interesting to see. I've never actually seen a banana slug before until I went on a trip to Muir Woods. So how everything has adapted to the environment that's up there. It's a very weird environment. You get a lot of low clouds, fog up there. It's very misty a lot of the time. So it's definitely not. It's kind of like this, like how it is right now, except the clouds would be a lot lower and the rain wouldn't be the droplets wouldn't be so big. But it's very similar, kind of overcast, and the clouds kind of hover over the mountains. And it looks really cool, but I definitely wouldn't want to live in those conditions year round. I would probably get depressed. Sorry, people of Seattle. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool to be able to go there and see those trees and just get away from the city and get away from as many people as possibly could. Of course, being a national monument and being kind of a tourist place itself, there were a lot of people there. So many that they filled up both the parking lots, and we had to park on the side of the road about a mile down the mountainside and walk up, which was all right. I mean, it wasn't really tiring, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess, sometimes. I've lost myself in the woods here. But after that, we ended up on California Highway 1, heading down to Stinson Beach, just to go to the beach and take a look at the Pacific Ocean. Let me tell you something. California Highway 1 would be an awesome kind of thing to see on, like, Initial D or something like that. But at the same time, it probably wouldn't be a good rally thing because there's no barriers on some of the parts of the road, and I legitimately felt like I was going to possibly die at some point because my dad drives like a maniac. or I have to tell him to slow down, or something like that. Well, he doesn't drive like a maniac. He wasn't really speeding or anything, but I was telling him, you know, to slow down, take the curves a little less than he was taking them. And I lost myself. But in any case, oh, this is Jungle Temple. I bet this has been raided. Oh, it's been raided. Yeah, somebody punched a hole in it already. But yeah, so we went down the windy, twisty Highway 1 of doom and death and despair, and we ended up in Stinson Beach, which is a little town. So it's got a nice little beach, but it's a small town just on the Pacific coast. And we stopped at a little cafe there for lunch, and I had a very delicious hamburger. It was absolutely wonderful. I can't remember what the name is. Self, if you can remember what the name is, please throw it up on the screen right now. Okay, so it's up on the screen whatever it is. But if you're ever in Stinson Beach, check that place out, because it's absolutely excellent food, reasonably priced, very good, very nice atmosphere, and so on. But we went to the beach after that, and unfortunately it was not very much beach weather, because it was the same weather as it was in the mountains. It was that rainy, misty, overcast kind of crappy day out. So we ended up going to the beach for a little bit. I really didn't take my shoes off or anything like that, but I did go in the water and put my hand in the water. So hey, I've been in both oceans now, technically. But I mean, I would have gone into the water if the weather had been better, but the weather wasn't that great. So my siblings ended up spending a lot of time running around collecting rocks and stuff. And for the record, I should mention that my siblings are both in their 20s. They're not little kids. I know I make it seem like, you know, they're like 10 and 12. But no, they're in their mid-20s. They're not much younger than I am. So when I sound like I'm saying, you know, that they're doing all these things that like a 10-year-old would do, that's because they are actually doing the things that I said they're doing a 10-year-old would do. But I should not speak much, because I tend to do stupid stuff like that as well. So they were kind of out and about doing those things with my dad, and I was, on the other hand, drawing pictures in the sand. As you might have guessed, I picked some Minecraft stuff to draw, and I drew Zisto. And I drew the Minecraft logo on the beach, and they're both probably washed away by now, so if you're heading out to Stinson Beach to go find them, they're not there. Sorry. I'm sure if they're not washed away, some 10-year-old kid ran over them with his feet and knocked them all crazy. But I could eat there, and yeah, we went there for a little bit. And eventually, I think we got tired of the rain, so we drove back home. We went down to Sausalito, because my mom had heard that, oh, there's some interesting stuff in Sausalito. There is nothing interesting in Sausalito. Let me tell you that much. That town is like, oh god, that town was so boring. And I would not go back there unless there was like an arcade or something like that. Some reason to... But yeah, we just went to Sausalito so that we could check it out and see, you know, what was actually down there. Apparently, which was not much. It was fairly boring. But we also, after that, drove over the Golden Gate Bridge, because that was the last thing on our big list of things to do, was to drive over the Golden Gate Bridge. My parents kept asking if we wanted to go, and my sisters were like they didn't care, and I said yes, and that's pretty much why we went. Plus, I was also in control of the... oh, this little tree grew. This must have been a test zone, like I planted down. Okay, cool. but I was also kind of in control of the directions for most of the trip, so I convinced them to go over to Golden Gate Bridge by leading them to go over to Golden Gate Bridge. So they were going no matter what. They weren't going to be able to turn around and go the other way. I kind of tricked them into going over it whether they wanted to or not. But yeah, that was pretty much it as far as the trip went. We didn't really do anything that was like too out of this world and too exciting and too fancy. It was fairly predictable, but at the same time it was nice to be able to get out there and see all these awesome things that are out there in the world. And actually, I'm going to stop this episode right here. And I'm going to keep working on the test plantings, but next time I will talk a little bit about San Diego and my trip out there and why I was even out there. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in a bit.